Hey guys, Chris Clothier again here with the Grind podcast coming to you on a Friday. Hopefully you're having a fantastic week. You're finishing up, getting ready for the weekend. I am going to give you today my response to getting ambushed by my team with this article I'd never seen before, and they wanted me to react to it. Hopefully you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed making it, but in it, I realized that what we need to do is come back with what I think are five, let's call them imperative. They're not, you don't have to have them, but I think they're pretty important. 5 characteristics, 5 traits that every entrepreneur needs to have, every small business owner you need to have if you want to be successful going forward in business. So in response to the article, I'm going to give you what my 5 are. I've written them on my board over here to my left to kind of just have my ideas of what I thought the skills were that you need to have. So without further ado, let's get right into it, right? So like I said, hopefully everybody enjoyed the article where I read it out and I had my kind of on-camera, on-podcast response. We'll see what you think of mine. Number 1, what I think is probably the most... Well, let me go back here before I get into these 5. They're not in a particular order. They're just 5 written down. So I can't say that one is more important than the other. I think they're all 5 critical, but they're just in order as they came to my mind. The first one that came to mind was resourcefulness. Now, what I mean by resourcefulness is that as an entrepreneur, you find yourself alone a lot. And even in a crowded room, even in a crowded marketplace, in a crowded workplace, even in a relationship as a husband or wife or couple, whatever, you find yourself alone a lot, and you have to be able to be resourceful with what you have around you. When I say alone, what I mean is that you're thinking a lot. You have a lot of your own ideas. You're not always able to share those with everybody. You're not always able to articulate everything that's in front of you, and you need to be resourceful with whatever you have at your disposal. So that would be your time, your talent, your treasure, your relationships, your connections, your ideas, or understanding, your experience, your history, all of this. You need to be able to pull from these resources that you have and use them when you need them. Use them to be able to whether it's grow, whether it is get started, whether it is overcome an obstacle. You just have to be able to have the ability, and I'll insert the word here, perseverance. You have to have the ability to be able to draw on what's available to you. No matter how deep that well is, no matter how much experience you have to be able to draw on, kind of your past and your resources that are around you in order to be able to be successful. So that's number 1. Number 2, accountable to growth. So what I mean by this, being accountable to growth, is that a lot of times where entrepreneurs or small business owners get stuck and they don't actually achieve what they set out to achieve is that whether they get complacent and satisfied with where they're at, whether they get happy and burnt out, they like where they've achieved, but they understand how much effort it took to get where they are. Do they have the same amount of energy and effort to get where, what's required to go next? And they decide that they don't. They decide that I'm good. I'm good right where I'm at. I'm good with the growth I've had. I'm good with what I've achieved. And so I'm going to set a new bar for myself, and I'm going to actually lower it and put the new, the goalpost right where I'm at and say, I've gotten what I'm happy with. Accountability, being accountable to growth means that, and I'll relate it to us here as the Clothier family. We constantly change up, many of the departments that work for us, many of the roles, the expectations, the goals. Our sales team is a great example how we go about selling, a decade ago, 300 houses in a year when no one was doing, that was unheard of. Even to do 100 houses a year was like big. And so we recognized that how we achieved 300 sales in a year was not going to be the same way we were going to achieve 500 sales in a year. Just as how we achieved 500 sales was not going to be how we were going to reach 700 or 800. And here we are now, we're doing 1,000 home transactions a year. And actively all the time as owners, as an executive team, we're talking about what, little subtle adjustments do we need to make? What do we need to do? Because the way we got here is not the way we're going to get there. All right. And maybe that's easy for everybody to understand. That's being accountable to what we need to do. We need to continue to grow. If you're not growing, there's only really, a couple of other directions you can be going. It's either backwards or stagnant. And as entrepreneurs and small business owners, none of us wants to shrink. None of us wants to go backwards. None of us wants to be stagnant, or else we couldn't call ourselves entrepreneurs in the first place. So we have to be accountable to growth. All right. Number three, people skills. And this was a big one. I made a little note to myself up here that there's no hiding behind digital. I've done podcasts, and if you're in our Facebook group, which is Profiting from Passive Real Estate, it's called REI Nation, Profiting from Passive Real Estate. That's our private Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, join it. But in there, we talked a lot about the easy button, you can throw that crap away. There is just no easy button really when it comes to business. We've talked about that in our newsletter. I think I may have even mentioned it here on the podcast before. Hiding behind digital is a major, major problem that we are facing today as small business owners and entrepreneurs, with our teams, with even ourselves. Hiding behind email, hiding behind text messaging, hiding behind some new fad, app that I can put on my phone or I can put in my computer and use it to talk to my clients for me, use it to market myself, use it to build my funnel and my clients, all this kind of stuff. I don't knock anybody that wants to figure out a way to do things easier and they use technology to do that. But no one has technologied their way to massive growth and massive success. They have used technology to assist them, but the reality is that without people skills, and I mean hard people skills, the ability to have a conversation, the ability to build a relationship with somebody one-on-one, face-to-face, the ability to be able to connect with people. We talk about the four groups in our, the four stakeholders in our business. I'm not sure who they are in your business, but whomever they are, you have to have the ability to build real relationships and have real people skills. That's listening, the ability to hear what people are saying, not just the words they're using, but understand the meaning behind, what others need. The ability to empathize and move quickly and change and adjust. These people skills that you have to have in order to build real trust, to build real likability. Without them, I don't believe I don't believe an entrepreneur can be successful without those skills. Now, some entrepreneurs, they surround themselves with others that bring that to them. So they may be more introverted. They may not be great at those hard people skills, but they surround themselves with others that complement them. All right. So I'll go with that. If you're not great at the people skills as an entrepreneur, you better have somebody as your right-hand person that understands, because that is pivotal to the growth of an entrepreneur. I use the next one, the number 4, as humble yet confident. So, there's never been a goal that we, as owners of my company, myself even included as an individual, there's never been anything that I thought I couldn't do. I mean, I've tried, if you know my background, I've tried all kinds of crazy stuff. I ran a 100-mile ultra marathon without ever completing a full marathon, only because I knew I could do the marathon. I mean, it didn't feel like a challenge to me. I was confident in it, but yet humble enough to challenge myself in a way that I might fail. And, if you know my background, you know that I did fail. I did not hit the 100-mile mark the first time I went out for an ultra marathon. So of that distance, of a 100-mile distance. So in business, same thing. We declared we were going to do 1,000 homes before we had completed 900 homes in a year. Same thing with 300. We declared 300 before we had done 200. There's a confidence in us and a belief in our ability to be able to achieve certain milestones we put in front of us. I think it's critical for entrepreneurs to have that. You must be confident in what it is you're doing, but yet humble enough to make that challenge so big that you might fail. Humble enough to recognize that, you don't measure yourself always by the end result. A lot of times you measure yourself by how you got there and the path you took. And so I think every really great entrepreneur has courage and the confidence to go after really, really big goals. And they're humble enough to set those goals so high that they may fail. And if they do, they achieve something great along the way. And it doesn't mean they accept it. They'll still go for that goal, next time. They'll maybe even set it a little bit higher, but, they never set their goals so low that they can kind of, set their shoulders back and sit up real tall and say, like, look at me, look how great I am. Instead, it's this willingness to fail. That comes from that humility that I think all entrepreneurs, great entrepreneurs need to have. The last one, and this is one that as my team and I, we were talking, we came up with this fifth one. I forget exactly what we said at first, but this is the way I put it. And it's called the ability to stay in the moment. What does that mean? Again, just using myself, I'm able to project and see into the future of the things that I want to accomplish. And they're really, really big. I tell people all the time that whether it's this visioning or goal setting or imagining, whatever you want to call it, I'm able to really get out there and see some really big things that I will accomplish. However, if all I ever did was focus on that, myself and my team, all of us, everybody around me, we would all miss the little details that are so important to get right in order to reach the big goal that we set. So staying in the moment just means putting my mind and my heart where my feet are. And that's not original to me. I want to make sure I give great credit. There's a guy named, Turney Duff. I think I'm getting his name wrong. Here it is. I'm having my 50-year-old moment here, where I'm forgetting the name of where I originally heard that. But I was at an event at Jesse Itzler's house up in New Hampshire, and it was a challenging event for whether it was athletes or entrepreneurs, business owners, kind of an eclectic mix of people who are trying to accomplish really big things in their life. And one of the speakers there was a guy named Turney Duff. And Turney wrote a great book called The Buy Side. Really, really cool book to read. Detailing, kind of a bit of the back room of Wall Street. And, Turney talked about one of the things that kind of helped him as he grew in life was this idea, this concept of putting his mind and his heart where his feet were, so he was able to always stay grounded and in the moment. And I just loved it. And I've used it ever since. That was probably four years ago. And I think about it all the time. And I talk to my team about it all the time. Of course, I'm sharing it here with you. What does it mean to be able to stay in the moment? It means that, there's nothing wrong with thinking big. There's nothing wrong with planning. There's nothing wrong with having dreams, aspirations, ideas, your goals. But you have to be able to stay in the moment. You have to be able to be right here and present. So no matter what we want to achieve, we can't get there if we don't take care of what's 3 feet in front of us, right? And this whole idea of keeping our focus where our feet are allows us to be very, very present, allows us to be very much in the moment, to make decisions based on what's happening to us right now. And if we're able to do that, then kind of our subconscious never forgets about what our goal is. And it kind of helps us make decisions based on where we want to go, and not thinking about it all the time, not always be off in this la-la land of what's going to happen in the future, but be very, very present of what's happening right now. Great entrepreneurs are able to do that. That's my list of the 5, I think, that are key basic skills you must have to be a successful entrepreneur, a successful small business owner. They are, again, resourcefulness. You've got to be able to use what's around you, what you've acquired over time. You've got to be accountable for your own growth. You cannot rely on other people to be accountable for that. You've got to be the one that sets the tone, that asks the hard questions, and that is always looking to grow so that you're never stagnant or shrinking. You have to have solid people skills, and that means not relying on technology to do the hard stuff for you, those people skills. And if you don't have it, you got to surround yourself with somebody who does. That right-hand person that can handle those people skills for you. I think that great entrepreneurs are humble yet confident. All right. They're able to set big goals and not be fearful of failing, for their ego. They're humble enough to say that I can throw my ego off to the side and fail because I set a goal that was so audacious and so big that even if I miss it, I still achieve something great along the way and then can reset. And last, the ability to stay in the moment. So, and I think those last two really kind of go hand in hand. The ability to say, like, I'm here right now. I'm present in what's happening to me today, the decisions I have to make, the conversations I'm having, whatever it is I'm doing right this moment, I'm doing it for the future. I'm doing it to make sure that the future that I've set for myself, I can achieve because of what I did today. Guys, thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of the Grind Podcast. I hope you're enjoying it. Don't forget, please email me. Let me know what you think about it. Respond to us. Go online to our social media. Interact with us. Send us questions, comments, whatever it is you want, whatever you want to hear about. I get all of it. The team makes sure that no comment, no question, no anything gets through without me knowing about it. So I'm happy to address anything that you want to hear here on the podcast. Until then, guys, commit to the grind, and we'll see you next Friday. Y'all take care.